Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel at VAG Technique, our beautiful garage. As you can see in the beginning of the video, we had a Seat Leon delivered to us for a timing belt replacement. Why I say replacement? Because it's a very special vehicle and the timing belt is in the boot, it's not on the engine anymore. So this owner contacted us based on our YouTube channel. So hello owner, you're gonna see your car on YouTube unfortunately, and luckily depends how you're going to take it, and it was in a different garage. So the owner wasn't really confident to leave it in the garage because they tried to outsource the work and they were not sure what they're actually going to do. The first plan, what they wanted to do was just put a new timing belt kit on it and it should run. However, when it happened, the owner of the vehicle described it quite easily and quickly. It was good and then it wasn't good. Something happened and all of a sudden the car didn't want to start. It did try to start but didn't fire up. So I'm suspecting the timing has jumped quite a lot. And the reason why it jumped, when I was looking in the parts in the boot, I think the tensioner pulley, the main tensioner pulley for the timing belt wasn't holding the belt fully tension and it allowed to jump over the camshaft gear on the top. So in this video we will try to diagnose it first, because I'm definitely not ordering and spending the customer's money to get a new timing belt kit when it's probably going to need the engine rebuild. So the previous garage done a bit of a work, as you can tell. The covers are removed, the rear crankshaft pulley is removed, and we have sort of easy access to the top of the engine in case we need to strip the top end. So I'll probably start by removing the injectors, the rocker cover, and I want to check what the cams looks like, because on this vehicle the cams are basically just pushed in on the tube, and in case there's an impact piston with the valve, the profile will actually turn around the cam. So maybe we will need new camshafts, but I don't know yet. I have to strip it down, so stay tuned, interesting video coming in. Okay, so as I mentioned, the garage where it was before us, they already took the whole timing belt kit, which is in the boot, which makes our life a bit easier and sort of not easy at the same time. We can't really tell in what position was the crank and camshaft and how much the timing actually jumped, but we don't definitely want to risk any more damage, so we don't want to turn the engine. So from my point of view, best thing will be to strip the head from the top. We will check the profiles on the cams if they're not turned where they shouldn't be, and we will just perform a vacuum test. Then the valves will be fully shut. So if all 4 cylinders will pass the vacuum test, we will check the cams, and if that's fine, we can actually retime the engine and it should run. But we will see. So close to say what an easy job, and then it's fucked up. So what happened is, this carrier with camshafts, I take the bolts out because obviously the profiles are completely gone. They are overturned in the position where they shouldn't be, and unfortunately what these wonderful engineers from Germany, hello, what they've done is that how this carrier is sitting on the cylinder head, there are 2 pins which helps to guide the top carrier on place. However, there's an overgap on the catalytic converter over here, and there's a screw going into the top of the cylinder head, and unfortunately I can't remove it. So from an easy and quick diagnostic to save customer money, I have to drop now the exhaust down, because otherwise I can't remove it. So we have to lift the car up now and we have to continue from underneath. We managed to remove the exhaust with the DPF and catalytic converter aside, so we can remove the carrier. The next step, critical stage, we have to check if each cylinder will hold vacuum. So stay tuned. Dobra? Może być akurat chore weszli, nie? Dobre. Mało być fajnie tym pardon, nie? Situation update. As you can tell, the engine is stripped down from the top. We've done the vacuum test, what we had. So by our opinion, the vacuum test has passed. So we don't really think that the valves are actually bending the cylinder head or there's any internal damage. However, we come to a bit of a problem with the owner. I'm not saying there's a problematic owner of the vehicle, but he has a certain budget, and unfortunately, the carriers who you see behind me with the camshafts, they come as a one part under one part number, and new ones are like fortune. They come like 1800 quid. So I did give him an option that we can try to find something aftermarket. There was a company with aftermarket ones, but are not longer available, or they just can't get them. So we are not sure where to actually get them. So the one and last option how to put this 1.6 TDI back together is with the second-hand part. So there were a few on eBay, but most of them were with no returns. So we managed to get a second-hand one. So we basically brought it here. We already checked it. Should be fine. Also, we will be replacing the hydraulic lifters with rock arm. Even there's no visible damage, but if there was a contact, we would rather replace it than have a tapping noise afterwards, and so on and so on, including the work, of course, new timing belt kit with water pump. There are some additional gaskets, oil and oil filter will be replaced as well, a bit of a labor. So all this comes just slightly over £2,500. I'll show you these carriers. What's the actual damage if you've never done a 1.6 before and you don't know. This might be a bit of a help video, because if you have a closer look on the carriers, well, the front gear or the front wheel is in the same position, and if you have a look at the profiles, they are in a completely different position. So you can't even tell which one is good and which one is bad and which one we took out and which one we actually brought, because they are aiming in a good direction, but one of them is 180 degrees out. So what actually happened is that the timing bell went, and if that will go, how the system is designed, because this is like one part, it's basically pressed in onto these profiles. So these profiles, if you really start hammering them, you can actually move them against the tube which is sitting in the carrier. So you have these hydraulic lifters, we have new ones here already, so they will be replaced. But we also have these rock arms, which are here, and the camshaft profile is basically sliding on the rock arms like this. So as soon as the profile will be in its highest point, it will open the valve like this. And what happened in this situation, how it's actually designed to prevent it from internal damage, is that when the timing actually jumped and there was a contact with the valve and the piston, because they're straight, they will actually not bend. They can bend in a certain situation. I'm not saying, but in this condition they didn't bend. So what actually going on, before the profile went onto the highest point, it was stuck on this rock arm, and how this was turning, the profile actually stopped turning. So that's why these ones are exactly 180 degrees out compared to these ones. So this is the carrier what we bought, this is the original from the car. And how this camshaft is working is not like inlet and exhaust. It's basically inlet, exhaust, inlet, exhaust, inlet, exhaust, inlet, exhaust. So if you have a look, these first profiles are downwards and these ones are upwards. These one are going inner, these one are going to the outer. These ones are downwards, these ones are slightly upwards. All of them had a contact with the valves, with the pistons. And that's why when there was an impact, basically all of them turn exactly the same way. So that's why even if you left the carrier, because from the visual point of view, it doesn't seem to be faulty, the engine will not run. So we have this second-hand one. Don't think there's any damage to it or anything. It looks in good condition. It's not a component which is usually failing unless there is a problem with the timing. Well, if the timing will let go. So in this video, the plan is we've got everything here. We've got these rock arms, hydraulic lifters, new timing belt kit, water pump, oil filter, all the gaskets. And what we will start with is clean up the cylinder head from the silicon, and we will start assembling everything what we got here. So the top of the engine is pretty much put back together. I still have to plug on these return pipes for the injectors. Before we're going to start it up, we will crank it, so I'm not plugging the injectors in. To get to the timing belt, which is not there, actually get to the timing, we have to remove this bracket with engine mount. And we have a new timing belt kit ready to go on. So we have a new belt, some idler pulleys, some tensioner pulleys, some bolts and nuts, a new water pump with the solenoid. So we'll try to put the timing back in place and hopefully the engine will start. So I was about to take off the fuel filter and look what happened. So I want to say hello to the previous garage. Well, I don't know. That's coming from here and that's broken. It's brilliant. So that is a return for a fuel. So we have to all reconnect it somehow, or we have to get a new plastic pipe which is going through the half of the car. So yeah. Just the water. Oh yeah. 2016. Now we know why the timing belt failed. Never been done. Okay, so the camshaft is release. High pressure fuel pump is in place and release. We have a timing tool on the crankshaft and we have to clean it up a bit, and we will be installing new water pump and the whole kit. Okay guys, so the new timing belt is on with the water pump and all the idler pulleys and tensioner. So very important, always put the aeration pin onto the high pressure fuel pump so it was released. You should also have a tool for the crankshaft on the bottom, and you should also have a tool for the high pressure fuel pump to hold it, and the camshaft gear as well. So everything was tight, and we'll try to turn the engine now a few times. I'm really hoping it will have some kind of signs of compressions. So that's what we're aiming for. So let's continue. So the pulley is in place, tensioner, belt is in place, carrier is in place, engine mount is in place, so the only thing what's left is cover. So I'm gonna put the cover back on, fit the exhaust, and we have to check if there's actually oil in the engine. We try to crank it. Start up the 1.6 TDI engine what we were working on, and unfortunately, as you can tell, it's not running as it should be running. First of all, it's cranking too long till it's gonna fire up. Once it's gonna fire up, it's gonna shake a lot, so I'm not really happy how the engine is running. So I'm not sure what we're actually gonna do now, because we spent all the money on the customer car and the car is not running properly. So maybe I've done a mistake that there is maybe internal damage in the engine, but I don't know. All I know, the engine shouldn't run like this. You can probably agree with me that the engine should start straight away, and it shouldn't be shaking as much as it is now on under any condition. So yeah, I don't know what we're gonna do. Maybe we've done a mistake. We shouldn't have done the job as we've done it. You never know. But I'll see you in another video. Maybe we will try to dig in and sort it out. So, see ya. No, I'm just joking. We're gonna do it in this video. So, I plug it on the diagnostic. There's no fault codes. Everything seems to be running fine. However, injector number 3 was overfueling. So, I swapped injector number 3 with 4. And I had to look in the combustion chamber one more time. I don't see any actual damage. And I think we will have to replace the injector. I spoke with the owner of the vehicle and he did confirm the engine was shaky a bit before, because it was a non-runner. I couldn't actually done any diagnostic, any checks and so on and so on. So this is stage 1 when we've done the repair what failed, and now the stage 2 to do whatever's necessary to make it run properly, because we didn't see the condition before it actually came to us. So it's Saturday, hold on, it's Sunday today actually, so I can't get it injected today, but I'll finish the exhaust, I'll put all the bolts back into the brackets and put the wheels and number tray on, and tomorrow I'll get the injector. We're going to swap it around, code it into the ECU, and we'll see what will be the outcome. So when I said I'm going to finish the exhaust off, so you understand what we were removing, you can see there was a bolt for a carrier over there, there's one more over there. I'm not sure if you're gonna see it. There's a clamp, and the bolt is more further on the top. See it? Then there's one more over there. I'm not sure if you can see it. There it is. And then there's a carrier from underneath, close to the dry shaft. So all this was removed to actually push the exhaust aside to take off the carrier for the camshafts. So pretty much busted job, but what can you do? Okay guys, so we have Monday, injector is here, Delphi. So I replaced the injectors, actually the one injector. I put the one in the original spot, and all we have to do now, we have to code new injector into the ECU. So I have a laptop with me, and maybe in a minute probably you will see from how to become from a hero to a zero, or I don't know, maybe it's repaired, maybe not, but we will see in a minute. You can leave me a comment underneath the video. What do you guys think of our repair methods. I will write the injector into the ECU and we'll start the car up. Okay, so we put the new coat, injector number 3. We'll see what will happen. Okay, so it's time to start up the engine. I'm really hoping it will sort out the problem, and if not, you know what they say, life is difficult. £2,500 later and the engine is still not repaired. Okay. Okay. No shaking noise. Looking good, looking good. Let's check the values. Injector. So we have 1, 3, 4. Okay, so you can see the value has improved. It went to minus. It was plus 180 before. So I think we are all good to go. I can call up the owner. It cost another 300 quid, but it sorted out the problem. He was mentioning it was shaking, but you know, everybody is saying like shaking, but everybody have a different meaning of shaking. So when I put it in drive, it wasn't that bad still, but you can't use the car with overfilling injector anyways. So there's no fault codes. No fault codes. Okay, so I think we have done here. Go for a drive and I'll let you know. So I'm in the Seat Leon, test driving the vehicle. Well, I'm not test driving it, I'm basically idling in traffic at the moment because there are some school runs or something's going on. But anyways, this Seat Leon has done 64,000 miles, which is slightly over 100,000 kilometers. And I personally think the reason why the timing belt failed was not mileage wise but time wise. So the whole problem was that the tensioner pulley probably failed, which has a loose belt, which means the belt somehow get on the edge of the tensioner pulley and it was shredded to pieces. Anyways, the garage where it was before we had it, first of all they broke a pipe. Well, unfortunately it happened, but I did manage to repair it. Budget, I didn't repair it, I budget somehow together, but it's not leaking, so I think it sorted out the problem. And the biggest problem with the first workshop was that they want to just try to repair it for a certain amount of money. I was told 500 quid. So for 500 quid to try something is actually nice, but it wouldn't cure the problem because from outside it looks there's actually no damage. The timing just jumped maybe a bit, I don't know, because you've seen it came with no timing belt on already, so it was already taken off. So I'm not sure what was the original position, camshaft versus the crankshaft, but they just want to put a new timing belt kit, which first of all will be waste of money because probably it will jump again because the camshaft profiles were turned as you've seen and the engine wouldn't fire up or something will happen again. Well, so when I was speaking with the owner over the phone, I told them like, look, just don't spend money on trying things because it never work out. And luckily he was brave enough to tell the first workshop like, okay, leave it, I'm gonna take the car elsewhere, which he did, and it came in the condition as you saw. So we did come across this issue before. Well, you know, guys, keep up your service up to date. Even if the manufacturer is saying 4 or 5 years, soon as it will hit 4 years, I will get the belt and the whole timing basically replaced straight away. I wouldn't leave it even for a minute longer for one particular reason, because you are preventing all these issues, yeah, and it's much cheaper and better for the engine to replace the timing belt. Oh, start stop is working, that's nice. Polar bears will be happy. So if you're preventing all these issues, you're saving money, you're saving time and saving hassle. And personally, from what we've done now, the bill is quite high. So unfortunately, because of all this, the owner is basically losing over £2,000 because the belt wasn't replaced on time. So the total bill will be like up to £3,000. That's including the injector, the camshaft carrier with the camshafts, all the gaskets what you've seen, labor, timing belt kit with water pump. So it is sorted, and I think the engine is running fine. Another thing was, as you've seen, when I start up the engine the first time, it was shaking. Reason for that was the faulty injector, it was overfueling. When I spoke with the owner, he was like, well, the engine was shaking, but you know, it come to the point like everybody had a different meaning of shaking. Me as a mechanic, that was like, no chance this car can go back on the road and something will not fail in the near future. And the owner was like, well, it was shaking before, it's shaking now, so nothing changes, it's all good. So I did tell them like, it's not really good to drive the car. He was okay with it to go ahead with the injector. So we had a new injector, we called it in, as you've seen, and it sorted out the problem. So the car's running sweet, there's no more Mr. Shaky, and the engine is running sweet. So I personally think the next thing what he needs to get done probably will be just service next year and some small bits and bobs, but the timing should be good for another 4 years, or I think it's for 100,000 miles or 90,000 miles. Quite high number. I wouldn't stick to it. I'll probably do like 60,000 miles on these belts with water pump anyways, and not more than 4 years. So from my perspective, these 1.6s are nice engines, they're good engines, but you gotta keep up the basic service up to date, otherwise shit's happening. So this Leon, I used to have one 2013-14 I had. This is 2016, and I had the tech pack, which has the LED lights in the front, sat nav and this and that. I'm not really big fan of these big displays because it's taking a bit of a concentration of the driving, so I like the buttons aside so I know what I'm doing. And I also like these old school buttons here because you can set up whatever you want without taking your attention from the road. And it's a lovely little hatchback, so it's not the quickest, of course. 1.6, I think this is only 105 bhp if I'm correct, and consumption is fine. DSG gearbox is shifting nice, and to move around town I think it's a cool car. Probably if you live in the silly low emission zone, because let's save all the polar bears, you might prefer a petrol car for local running, because these diesel cars don't really like the heat cycles. When they start up cold, they use for a few minutes and you have to shut them off. It's not even helping the DPF regenerations and DPF as such. So if you're doing like short journeys, I will probably prefer to go for the petrol engines. But next step will be, I'm going back to the garage, I'll check the car one more time, I'll do a diagnostic one more time, and I will contact the owner, so I think they can come down and collect it. And here we are in the workshop, 1.6 TDI. So I did spoke with the owner of the vehicle. I did tell him that the bill went up by 300 quid for the fuel injector, but I did sort out the problem. He also did mention that the timing belt should have been done a year ago, 2 years ago, but I'm not sure if you've seen on the video, but on the water pump and the tensioner pulley it says it was manufactured 2016. So if somebody done the job, they probably just replaced the timing belt and they didn't replace the tensioner pulley or the other pulleys, which was the issue why the timing actually went. But it's all done now. I checked everything underneath the cover one more time, so the injectors are not leaking, there's no fuel leaks, there's no oil leaks or no coolant leaks. Everything seems to be fine. The engine is running cool, so the owner will collect it tomorrow. Another car with happy ending, and we'll probably see you in the next video with the different cars. So thank you for watching, guys, and take care.